The question was not, should you eat human flesh, but what sort of flesh should you eat? A quick glance back into human history shows that cannibalism has not only been a means for survival when food sources became scarce, but it also has a long history as medicine. Medical or otherwise, nearly all people around the world, including Native Americans, Europeans, the Aztec, Romans, Greeks, Koreans, and Chinese, have long practiced cannibalism. But first of all, what is cannibalism? The strict definition of cannibalism, as defined by the English Oxford Dictionary, restricts cannibalism to the eating of human flesh by another human. This includes the fleshy tissue of fats and muscles as well as internal organs. However, I will define cannibalism as the consumption of a human by another human. This includes hair, nails, bones, blood, flesh, organs, and fetuses. There are three main types of cannibalism. Cannibalism for survival, eating your children because there's literally nothing else to eat. Cannibalism for revenge or hate, eating your enemy, sometimes to gain his power, but sometimes just because that is a fate worse than death. And cannibalism for medicine, eating someone to gain their powers or to cure an ailment. While the other two types are just as interesting, I will focus here on cannibalism as medicine to explore some of the reasons why a person might want to eat part or all of another person's body. So why would you want to eat another person? Well, there are three reasons that I can see. One, in the name of ritual, to sacrifice to the gods or to gain power through sacrifice, like the Aztecs when they cut out the heart and eat it. Perhaps the most intriguing instances of cannibalism were in the name of homeopathic medicine, the idea that like cures like. For example, the human skull was commonly ground up into a powder and mixed into a drink to cure headaches and head ailments. Or you might just be a psychopath. But besides psychopaths, who else would eat a human? King Charles II of England reportedly had human skull powder mixed up into his alcohol to cure his head pains in the 17th century. Following the same homeopathic principle, people with blood diseases were recommended to drink blood for treatment. The Romans drank the blood of slain gladiators to absorb the vitality of strong young men. The freshest blood was considered to be the most hardy. Beginning in the 11th century, Europeans had the habit of importing and eating Egyptian mummies up until the 16th century when the supply of mummies became scarce. This was a trendy thing to do if you were trying to increase your brain power, strength, health, or cure a stubborn disease. During the same time in China, the mellified man, or human mummy confection, experienced similar popularity. The mellified man may be based on the idea that if properly stored, honey will last forever. So by embalming yourself inside and out in honey, the body would be able to last forever too. A mellified man actually started treatment before he died and would eat only pure honey until his excrement and even his sweat became nothing but honey. When his illness, or diet, finally killed him, his body would then be placed into a stone coffin and filled with honey, which would preserve the body in sweet golden goodness. His body would then be taken to market and sold at high prices, and was said to be able to heal broken limbs and various other illnesses. China has experienced quite a bit of cannibalism throughout its history, mostly for survival during devastating famines, but it was, and is, also a popular form of medicine. Perhaps the greatest and most respected authority on the matter of cannibalism is that of Li Shizhen, the author of Bensao Gangmu, or the Compendium of Materia Medica, which was composed in the Ming Dynasty. The Bensao Gangmu is said to be the most complete work of medical writing in Chinese history, including over 1,800 drugs and more than 11,000 prescriptions. In this book, Li Shizhen recommended the use of placenta fluid, the umbilical cord, gallbladders, and perhaps the most off-putting, he encouraged the use of underwear stained with menstrual blood as a remedy for bloody wounds and poisons because it was so foul and filthy it could kill evil spirits. Confucius and Buddhist texts also acclaimed the benefits of stewing up one's flesh or internal organs to serve as medicine to the sick. Confucius, perhaps the most influential man on Chinese culture, advocated filial piety, the idea that we must obey and honor our parents at all costs. There's one filial piety story about a Jiangxi woman who cut out her own liver and made it into a soup to save her sick mother-in-law. In fact, it was considered a child's duty to sacrifice him or herself for a parent if it would save their life, and self-sacrifice was considered one of the most filial things you could do for your parents. Today, zombies are running rampant in our movies and TV series, but in the classic Ming novel, The Water Margin, cannibalism was epitomized in an inn that served human meat dumplings. There are also quite a few instances of eating aborted fetuses in an attempt to increase fertility. In the 2004 movie Dumplings, a rich woman who was having problems having a baby resorted to eating dumplings filled with aborted fetuses and prepared by a witch doctor in order to increase her fertility and eventually help her have a baby. But it turns out the dumplings may help you increase your fertility, but they can't stop your husband from cheating on you. Since the one-child policy was implemented, abortion became more acceptable as couples who were not allowed to have a second child feared legal repercussions. Many hospitals sell or give away these fetuses to people who are looking to increase fertility or vitality for homeopathic reasons. However, not all Chinese people think this is a good practice. Some doctors, when asked about eating fetuses, were surprised that anyone could take the smell of human meat and adamantly discouraged the practice. Chinese doctor Chu Ho-ting agrees that there is no place for fetuses in medicine and suggests that it might even be unhealthy if the pregnant woman was infected by a disease. But nevertheless, with the popularity or necessity of abortions, hospitals have a big supply of fetuses just lying around. And to the right buyer, this can be a big business. All this talking about eating fetuses is making me hungry, but is it safe to eat humans? The biggest danger in eating human is that of eating the brain. Prion disease was discovered in the 1960s and is a neurodegenerative disease that is similar to mad cow disease. Like mad cow disease, mad human disease comes from eating a brain that contains prions, a misfolded protein, and it is progressive, untreatable, and fatal. It's easy to demonize this practice and use it as proof that Chinese people are indeed backwards or even evil for aborting and eating fetuses. However, before anyone from the West jumps to such conclusions, I think we should examine some of the more recent cannibalistic events occurring on our side of the globe. Most people are familiar with serial cannibal Jeffrey Dahmer, who murdered at least 17 people from 1978 to 1991, telling police after his arrest that human flesh tasted like filet mignon. But just in case you think that was too far in the past, in May of 2012, Alexander Kinua in Maryland murdered and ate the organs of an exchange student from Ghana. Also in 2012, South Korean customs agents confiscated 17,000 pills imported from China that turned out to contain powdered human fetuses. Apparently this trade has been going on for some time now. There are also numerous other incidents of cannibalism a quick Google search will call up from all around the world, even since 2010 in places like the Ukraine, Papua New Guinea, Brazil, Nigeria, Syria, the United States, and Canada, just to name a few. So what did we learn? Almost all cultures and people have a long history of cannibalism. Cannibalism can be used as medicine, for hate, or for survival. Don't eat someone unless they willingly offer to be eaten, and watch out for diseases. Don't eat the brain, or at least do some tests for prion disease. And finally, cannibalism is still alive and well today. But before you tie Junior up to the stove, I recommend you try some herbs or acupuncture first. Chinese medicine has a lot to offer, so save the brains for last.